dating to 10,000 BC, and dolls were often represented as gods used in rituals. Japan's first commercially produced doll with movable joints was created by Volks. It's the company that runs this annual Dolls Festival, and these particular dolls, called Dolphies, are made so they can be restyled. Buyers can order a variety of faces and outfits. I don't know, some of them look a little, a little scary, but once they purchase their doll, they can actually repaint their faces, change their hairstyles.
Sort of like American Girl Japanese version.
Yeah, very fancy and rich history to boot.
Thanks for watching it, for everyone. That'll do it today. News 3 at 5 starts right now.
Right now at 5, UW-Whitewater Chancellor Beverly Copper announces her resignation. How students on the campus there are reacting.
We're learning more tonight about the Girl Scout troop leader accused of sexually assaulting a child. And why a new chocolate store on East Washington will not have any chocolate for sale during its grand opening.
This is News 3 at 5.
Thanks for staying with News 3. The UW-Whitewater in need of a new leader after Chancellor Beverly Copper announced this morning she'll resign December 31st.
The announcement follows sexual harassment investigations into her husband, who was banned from campus in June. Our Madeline O'Neill is back from UW-Whitewater with what this means for the university. Maddie?
In Copper's resignation, she thanks students, saying it's been an honor and a privilege being chancellor, but she doesn't say why she's leaving. It does follow calls for her resignation from elected officials, including the Whitewater Common Councilwoman accusing Copper's husband, Pete Hill, of sexual harassment. We spoke with students about this big change at their university.
It's obviously a hard day. I think it's a hard day for a lot of people across the university, too.
Student body president Tom King heard the resignation news straight from Chancellor Beverly Copper Monday morning.
I know that this probably wasn't the #1 thing that she would have preferred.
Most others saw her announcement, where Copper says being UW-Whitewater's chancellor has been an honor and a privilege. Although Copper doesn't specify why she's leaving the university, it does follow UW system investigations into allegations her husband, Pete Hill, sexually harassed employees.
You know, I suppose it is very hard to have something become such a conversation, especially at the beginning of a semester, and then not expect that it will have something lasting as a result.
Some students are sad.
She will be missed. I definitely liked having her as our chancellor, and I thought she represented what kind of our school should represent. So
others are shocked.
She shouldn't have to resign because it was her husband. It's not her decision, and no one wants their husband to do that stuff. So yeah.
And several tell us they aren't surprised.
At the same time, I kind of saw it all coming. I think half the student population saw it coming.
In Copper's official resignation, she wrote, "I am aware that the Board of Regents would like different leadership." In response, Board President Ray Cross thanked her for her service and accomplishments. State Representative Steve Noss, who's called for Copper's resignation, writes in a statement that this opens the door for positive change.
I understand the reason to resign, and I understand that moving forward, she is doing what I think is best for the university. And I think that she'll constantly be a supporter of the initiatives that we have.
While King says it's a hard day, he looks forward to the days ahead with a new chancellor.
I'm excited to see what will happen in our future, though. I really am.
In the newsroom now is a statement from the attorney of one of the women accusing Pete Hill of sexual harassment. It says, in part, the focus must be on making sure these women are given the help they need to cope. The Board of Regents tell us they will soon name an interim chancellor and then begin the search for a new chancellor sometime early next year.
Madeline O'Neill in the newsroom. Thank you, Maddie.
Sun Prairie Girl Scout troop leader accused of sexually assaulting a child is now charged. 49-year-old Stephen Faust was charged with 1 count of repeated sexual assault of a child. According to the criminal complaint, Faust is accused of sexually assaulting a now 13-year-old girl and had been doing so since 2010. The complaint says the assaults began when the girl was in kindergarten and continued to take place about twice a month for 5 years until 2015, when the girl stopped seeing him. Faust was released on a signature bond. He'll be in court again for a status conference January 28th.
Let's get a check on the weather now. Gary Canalti is out on the patio. Another nice day today. Hi, Gary.
All right, we have some issues with Gary's audio there. We'll get his full forecast in just a few moments. Next at 5, a 17-year-old could be facing charges after the Westfield School District received a threat of a school shooting. The district was contacted about 10:30 this morning by law enforcement officials after the threat was sent to them by email. The message was not specific to a school, so all buildings in the district were put on lockdown. District officials said a student made the threat through a CIA reporting page, and it took local law enforcement officials a little bit of time to track exactly where it came from. Around 11:45 a.m., officials determined where that threat came from and that there was no danger there. Officials with the Marquette County Sheriff's Office said they will be referring charges against that 17-year-old.
Grant County deputies are looking for a possibly armed and dangerous man. He is the suspect of 2 stolen cars from last week. Deputies are searching for 29-year-old Thomas Kusmal of Platteville. He's accused of stealing 2 trucks from Southwest Road just south of Platteville early Friday morning. Police are asking anyone with information to call the Grant County Sheriff's Office or Grant County Crime Stoppers. They say no one should approach him as it is not known if he is armed, but he is considered dangerous and he has possible ties to the Prairie du Chien, Boscobel, Blue River, Platteville, and Belmont areas.
Prosecutors have charged a former Democratic State Assembly candidate with a felony for allegedly forging signatures on her nomination papers. Sharice Daniels of Watertown faces 1 count of falsifying information on her nomination papers. That's a felony punishable by up to 3.5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Daniels planned to run in the 37th Assembly District against incumbent Republican Representative John Jagler. Daniels was not allowed on the ballot after the State Elections Commission rejected signatures from people who said they had never signed her nomination papers. Jagler was reelected after running unopposed.
The fight over restricting early voting in Wisconsin is heading back to federal court. Governor Walker on Friday signed into law a package of bills passed in a lame duck legislative session. One provision would limit early voting to no more than 2 weeks before an election. Groups that successfully opposed a similar restriction in federal court promised they would quickly return to court to block the move. Today, the liberal group Citizen Action of Wisconsin said they and their partners would be filing a motion by the end of the day asking a judge to stop enforcement of that provision. The request would be made with U.S. District Judge James Peterson, the same judge who struck down similar limits as unconstitutional in 2016.
Being able to have our clerks run elections and offer voting so that all voters can vote in the way that their communities best see fit is what we want to preserve and be able to, make happen for voters across the state.
A group run by former Democratic U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is part of the coalition seeking to block the change. Let's try once again to get an update on the weather with
Take
Gary.
2.
Hi, Gary, can we hear you now?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
No, it's a beautiful day out here. We had plenty of sunshine and temperatures were above normal again. Let's start out by taking a look at visible cloud track. You can see just how clear the skies were. You can see there's a little snow on the ground through central Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, and northwestern Iowa. Those are the areas that might have the best chance of seeing a white Christmas this year because I don't have much, if any, accumulating snow in the forecast all the way up through the Christmas holiday. Low temperatures this morning started out in the upper 20s. Will be a little colder than that tonight. High temperatures today just a tad cooler than the last couple of days when we were well into the 40s. Today we're just shy of 40 at 39 degrees, but that's still about 10 degrees above average. Current temperatures range from the upper 20s north of Madison to around freezing here in town to the middle 30s to our south. And by tomorrow morning, those temperatures will be down into the lower 20s. But look for clear skies overnight. We'll see sunny skies during the day tomorrow. Our high temperature topping out at 42. That's your first alert forecast.
All right, Gary, thank you. Cocoa Va Chocolatier's new location on East Washington Avenue is getting ready for their grand opening tomorrow, but they won't have any chocolate for sale.
On Friday, fumes from the construction of a yoga studio next door got into the shop, ruining thousands of dollars in chocolate, stopping production there. Amanda Quintana is here with more on the unfortunate situation, Amanda.
Yes, well, right before the holidays, which is one of the busiest times of year for Cova's chocolate business, it's all being thrown away. The owner says the concrete sealer used next door has contaminated her product, and she's worried it could happen again.
That was the last flavor I was working on before I decided it was no longer safe to.
A day before Cocoa Va Chocolatier's grand opening, the chocolate is going in the trash.
I've got all my Santas on motorcycles, and I mean, it's just a shame. I mean, I smell them and I smell chemical right now.
On Friday, contractors building the Inner Fire yoga studio next door used a concrete sealer, the fumes entering Kokova.
It had already permeated this space so bad. We had customers coming in complaining of headaches, nausea, people waiting in line who left.
It got worse on Saturday, forcing Vata Adari to sell all her chocolate that was in airtight containers.
My crystallization room.
And shut down production, losing thousands of dollars worth of product right before the holidays.
This was actually a custom order for a client who wanted their logo printed on the chocolate, so I am no longer going to be able to deliver that order.
The CEO of 1848 Construction says the smell is just a byproduct of normal construction. Owners of the building, which is a mixed-use space, including the Marlene Apartments, says 1848 Construction's mistake was their lack of communication.
This is my passion fruit mango caramel.
But Adari says this all could have been prevented.
And everybody knows, everybody was on notice that my space needs to be protected. So it's really just a shame that they weren't a little bit more considerate with the way that they're building their space. And I'm also worried about what's going to happen next.
Adari is considering filing a restraining order to stop the construction.
This is a smoky old-fashioned.
Saying, what if this happens again before Valentine's Day? Adari says she won't start making chocolate again until she gets test results back from a hygienist to show there is no public safety risk. Now, there will still be a grand opening celebration tomorrow, but the only chocolate is going to be hot chocolate, no chocolate for sale.
Oh, that is tough, especially as you mentioned, this time of the year, so many gifts. Okay. Well, we wish her the best, and we'll keep an update on that situation. Amanda, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Working Draft Beer Company is hosting Rockhound Recovery Night tonight to help raise funds for Rockhound Brewing after a safe was stolen from the brewery. Rockhound Brewing's owner says his company is out $10,000 from lost cash and in damages after individuals broke into the brewery and stole a safe earlier this month. He started a GoFundMe page to raise money. Working Draft Beer Company plans to donate $1 for every house beer sold in the tap room all day to Rockhound's GoFundMe page. Working Draft will be open until 10 o'clock tonight.
Baraboo community leaders are beginning a series of programs this week to share a message of unity. Today begins a series called Baraboo Acts Serve to Unite. Tonight, community members will hear a message from two different groups impacted by some form of hate in the past. It's at 7:30 at the Al Ringling Theater. Tomorrow, the Baraboo School District will also have a Thunderbird Day of Peace exclusively for students. Students will hear presentations on civil rights, social media, literacy, diversity, and restorative justice. More to come on News 3 at 5. Up next, President Trump still threatening a government shutdown if Congress does not approve funding for his border wall.
And the Interior Secretary has announced his resignation from the Trump administration. What well-known Wisconsin politician could be taking his spot?
And a check at the markets, another brutal one for the Dow, down more than 500 points. The Nasdaq lost 157, the S&P down 54. We'll be right back.
The deadline to avoid a government shutdown is 5 days away.
Aides to President Trump say he is not backing down from his ultimatum to Congress. Fund his $5 billion border wall or a government shutdown is imminent. This morning, the president tweeted, quote, anytime you hear a Democrat saying that you can have good border security without a wall, write them off as just another politician following the party line, end quote. Congress and the president have until the end of the week to come to an agreement to avoid that shutdown.
We don't want to get to a point that we shut down the government, but we got to find increased funding for border security.
There are not the votes for the wall in the House or the Senate. He is not going to get the wall in any form.
More than 420,000 federal employees, including more than 41,000 law enforcement officers, would have to work through the holidays without pay if the government shuts down.
President Trump is also searching for a new Interior Secretary. Current Secretary Ryan Zinke announced this weekend he will be leaving the Trump administration by the end of the year. In a tweet, President Trump said Ryan has accomplished much during his tenure, and I want to thank him for his service to our nation. The Department of Justice is looking into whether a land deal Zinke struck in his hometown of Whitefish, Montana, is a conflict of interest. Governor Scott Walker is said to be under consideration for this cabinet position. He is in Washington, D.C. today. Governor Walker's office says he's there to attend a reception at the White House. America's largest Muslim civil liberties organization is pushing back against President Trump's travel ban. Ali Hassan, a U.S. citizen who lives in Stockton, brought his son, Abdullah, also a U.S. citizen, from Cairo to California 3 months ago, seeking treatment for his child's brain condition. He says President Trump's travel ban is keeping his wife, a Yemeni national who currently lives in Egypt, from being by his side. The latest version of the policy applies to travelers from mostly Muslim-majority nations, including Yemen.
My son Abdullah needs his mother. My wife's calling me every day, wanted to kiss and hold her son.
We should not be forcing our own American children to die without a mother's comfort and love.
Abdullah has been on life support at a children's hospital in Oakland, California for the past month, and his condition is not expected to improve.
And we go now to Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti for the latest outlook on our forecast for the week ahead. Gary?
Yeah, it looks mild. Temperatures are going to stay above average at least right up into the Christmas holiday. And as far as the prospects for snow, I think they're pretty limited. Let's start out by looking at Doppler track. You can see very little precipitation anywhere around the Midwest. Very quiet weather pattern that we have right now. As we look at the high temperature trend over the next 7 days, well, that tells the story. Average high temperature should be in the upper 20s. We don't get to that level until Christmas Eve Monday, and so the next couple of days we'll see high temperatures in the lower 40s. So what little snow there is on the ground, mainly in the far northern parts of our viewing area, will continue to move away or shrink that snowpack. 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. This is where it gets interesting. Not so much for the time up to Christmas, but it's the time immediately after Christmas. You can see above normal temperatures over much of the eastern part of the country with the highest probabilities in the southeast, below normal temperatures in the western part of the country. Now, usually the storm track is in between, and if you see high probabilities on both sides, that usually indicates a pretty energetic jet stream and a big storm system potential. And take a look at the 8 to 14-day precipitation outlook. About a 70% chance of above normal precipitation centered around Kansas City, but about a 60% chance into southern Wisconsin. There could be a pretty potent storm system in the late Wednesday to Thursday and Friday time period after Christmas that brings the potential for some mixed precipitation, maybe changing to rain, and then back to snow, but a lot of that will just depend on the exact track of the storm. There'll be a big storm. It's just a question of where it'll end up happening. Well, there's the snow depth. You can see mainly areas north of Madison, a little bit of snow, but you have to get into central Wisconsin before you see even a couple of inches of snow on the ground. Southern Wisconsin pretty much snow-free, as are areas across southern Iowa and most of Illinois. There's the current snow depth you can see in the Midwest. And as far as the snow potential, this is through Christmas Eve or Christmas Day morning at 6 a.m. We'll take a look at the GFS computer model, calling for very little in the way of snow accumulation over that time period. Now, the European computer model brings the potential for maybe up to an inch of snow on Christmas Eve into Christmas Eve night. But right now, that's the first time that computer model has shown the potential for snow. Before that, it was mainly staying to our south and to our west. So right now, we're just kind of discounting that and going with flurry chances from Christmas Eve night into Christmas Day with little, if of any snow accumulation. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. A pretty quiet night on the southern end of Lake Mendota. High today, 10 degrees above average at 39, the low 28. And right now we're sitting at 33 degrees with clear skies. The air is calm. Temperatures across the Midwest, 20s in the northern part of Wisconsin, 30s here, some 40s across southern Iowa. Weather track shows a very quiet weather pattern across the Midwest, much of the eastern two-thirds of the country. A storm system to our south and west will eventually affect us just on the northern fringes of it with some light precipitation Wednesday night into Thursday. That storm starting to organize as an area of low pressure in Nebraska, but temperatures to our south and west are still pretty mild, mainly in the 40s and even some 50s over western Kansas, so very mild for this time of year. Tonight, mostly clear, a little colder, low dropping to 22. For tomorrow, another sunny and mild day with a high temperature of 42 degrees. On future track, look for clear skies overnight, high pressure moving right overhead, so we'll see light winds, low temperatures dropping into the lower 20s. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high temperatures, lower 40s. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies in the evening will turn cloudy overnight. That will keep low temperatures up to around freezing. And then on Wednesday, look for high temperatures in the lower 40s. Just an outside chance of a rain shower late in the day west of Madison, but the 7 to 10 day forecast does call for a chance of rain and snow showers on late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Temperatures will start trending a little colder as we head toward the weekend, but still quiet weather conditions are expected for travelers leading right up to the Christmas holiday. And then again, after Christmas, that's when we have to look for the possibility for a storm system. As we take a look at first alert traffic, we've had some big delays on the eastbound Beltline. That's the view at Broadway and the Beltline. There was a traffic accident there earlier. Still seeing delays from around Broadway all the way back to Whitney Way in the westbound direction. Eastbound on the Beltline, or I'm sorry, that's in the eastbound. Westbound direction, delays start around Fish Hatchery Road and go back to John Nolan Drive. Right now, 50 minutes from University Avenue to the interstate, going back in the westbound direction, 18 minutes, and heading out of Madison, 26 minutes to Janesville on I-3990, 23 minutes to Sauk City on US 12, and 21 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151. That's your first alert traffic.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Ahead at 5, the deadline to send your holiday gifts so they arrive by Christmas is quickly approaching. We'll tell you when you should expect to ship out those gifts, show you how they'll get to those destinations. Stay with us. The deadline to send your holiday gifts so they arrive in time for Christmas is quickly approaching. First-class mail and priority mail need to be sent by Thursday. UPS and FedEx have Friday deadlines.
Chris Van Cleve has a look at how it all happens.
From the unending roar of jet engines to the constant hum of conveyor belts, it's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas at UPS Worldport in Louisville, Kentucky. UPS's main package sorting facility is working around the clock, processing 115 packages a second.
Why are you busier this year than you were last year?
Really, it's e-commerce. It's been a sea change.
Boxes arrive at Worldport by plane in these containers. They're sorted by folks like Gary Howlett, one of 11,000 employees here.
Every year about this time gets me excited because I know we're delivering somebody's gift.
Once on the conveyor belt, the packages wind their way through the 5.2 million square foot facility. These codes on the boxes are repeatedly scanned, directing them. The belt knows to drop a box in just the right bag, headed to just the right place.
The packages aren't here very long. From when they come in the door, wind their way through 155 miles of conveyor belt, get sorted, and sent on their way, we're talking less than 20 minutes.
By then, the bags of packages are loaded into these freight containers Leslie Gorin calls boxes.
It's like a game of Tetris, just finding the right spot for the box.
And while she's packing planes, meteorologist Jeffrey Sarver is scanning the skies for bad weather.
Our biggest job is to look at any weather that's going to impact our operation and try to find a way around it.
Then it's up to the pilots who fly UPS's 248 planes, plus 35 more they've leased for the holidays. Captain Sean Horton's tie even says, "I am Santa." He knows he's not, but he's happy to help Old St. Nick.
We do our best to make sure that no kid is disappointed on Christmas morning.
Once Horton 767 lands, the boxes make their way to those brown vans UPS calls package cars and to your door by Christmas, if you ship by Friday. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Louisville, Kentucky.
All right, another check of your forecast when we return. Stay with us.
Another nice day on the way tomorrow.
Yeah, temperatures today were close to 40 after being well into the 40s over the weekend. Still 33 right now. Take a look at that 7 to 10 day forecast. Maybe some rain and snow shower chance tomorrow night into Thursday morning. That shouldn't amount to very much. Then just quiet weather, although a little bit of a cool down as we head toward Christmas. Some flurries Monday night into Christmas Day Tuesday, and then we'll have to watch that late Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time period of next week for a storm.
All right, Gary, thank you. We'll have more updates in 30 minutes for News 3 at 6. Stay tuned for the CBS Evening News.